Underwater robot reveals enigmatic shapes on the bottom of Antarctica's ice. By sending sound waves into the warming seas around Antarctica, an underwater robot has given scientists a detailed new look at the melting undersides of the continent's giant ice shelves, which matter hugely for global sea levels. The items taken by the robot contain clues about how the shelves are thinning. They reveal several never before seen formations in the ice, including immense terraces with rounded, swirling edges and teardrop-shaped divots, some that are hundreds of feet across, that appear to have been sculpted by turbulent currents. The scientists behind the discovery described the structures as enigmatic. "I could not stop looking at it," said Anna Wellen, an oceanographer at the University of Gothenburg in Sweden, describing the first time she saw the data. "We had no idea it could look like this," she said. It's not just the transfixing beauty of these features that interests scientists. Ice shelves are the floating edges of glaciers, and they're critical to sea level rise. The shelves block Antarctica's glaciers from shedding more of the ice into the ocean. As more warm water bathes their undersides, the shelves melt and weaken, causing glacial ice to flow more swiftly out to sea. The new imagery comes from underneath the Dodson ice shelf, which sits on the Amundsen Sea off West Antarctica. Dodson is more stable than other shelves in the region. Dr. Wall and her colleagues were originally hoping to survey the bottom of the nearby Thwaites Glacier, which is losing mass quickly. Scientists have estimated that Thwaites' total collapse would increase global sea levels by about 2 feet over several centuries. When Dr. Whalen and her team researched the frozen continent, however, the Thwaites was inaccessible. Too much sea ice was in the way. In the end, mapping the underbelly of Dodson gave the researchers a chance to test their equipment and methods. Dr. Whalen said their findings were published Wednesday in the journal Science Advances. They are turning their attention to Thwaites next. When Dr. Whalen and her colleagues traveled to Dodson in early 2022, the key member of their team was more than 20 feet long and bright orange. Its name was RAN. The scientists programmed RAN to travel back, that's the underwater robot, to travel back and forth between the shelf in neat rows like a lawnmower, collecting data by pulsing the ice with sound waves. But the researchers could not talk with RAN while it was under the ice. And RAN could not use GPS to figure out where it was going. It had to navigate by dead reckoning with the help of onboard motion sensors. That made for plenty of heart and throat tension each time the scientists slid RAN into the water. Dr. Whalen said the shortest missions the robot completed beneath Dodson lasted 4 to 5 hours. The longest lasted 28 hours. Just waiting without any signs of life, Dr. Whalen said. By the end of the scientists' month-long expedition, RAN had completed 14 undersea missions, but only about half of them were completely successful. The data it came back with covered 50 square miles of ice. Another source of suspense, the scientists were far from sure what the robot would even find. The bottom of the ice shelf could have turned out to be flat and featureless, which would have been a letdown, Dr. Wellen said. So we were happy to see structures, she said. The structures were far more complex than anyone had expected, said Peter Davis, oceanographer with the British Antarctic Survey, who also contributed to the study. He said it looks like a beach after the tide has gone out. In the past, scientists generally assumed that the melting process smoothed out the topography of underwater ice, Dr. Davis said, and now it's becoming clear that these features and indentations can persist. Understanding how they affect overall melting in response to ocean warming and other changes will require further study, he said. Early this year, Dr. Wallen and her colleagues ran back to Dodson. They wanted to repeat their surveys from 2022 and see how the ice had changed. But after one of its dives, RAN never showed up at its rendezvous point, and the robot was unfortunately lost. Dr. Whalen has two main theories about what happened. One is that RAN crashed into the grounding zone, the area hundreds of feet underwater, where the ice shelf meets the bedrock. The other is that it had a fateful encounter with a curious seal. The scientists spotted several seals living in a fracture in Dodson's ice. Dr. Whalen said one of them could have started circling RAN underwater, causing it to become disoriented. Scientists hope to have robots monitoring Antarctic ice more regularly, said David Holland, a professor of mathematics and ocean science at New York University, who contributed to the research at Dodson. Only with more and better data could we forecast sea level rise as precisely as we forecast the weather, Dr. Holland said. And he said, we are not there yet. It's not going to happen unless we push it. This was originally on New York Times. This is by DNYUZ. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.